Blessings, everyone. Thank you for tuning in tonight for another episode in Within the Cauldron. Tonight, we are interviewing not only just an author, this lady is so much more. And she is a clairvoyance. She does dream work, astral travel, mediumship. Um, she's an empath. I mean, the list goes on and on with this lady. So, to further ado, let me introduce to you Kat Gina Cole. Hi,
Greetings,
Kat.
everyone. Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty good out here in Oregon, Southern Oregon is triple digits today.
Oh my gosh. It's been storming here a lot. But we did get a walk in today around the cemetery. I always like to walk in the cemetery. It's just so peaceful and everything.
Yeah.
But first of all, let us have the audience know how you got started on your journey.
Well, I've had some people ask me how long I've been a witch, and pretty much I've never not been one. Uh, I was raised in it with my grandmother and my mother, and yes, I had other siblings and a dad, but they were not into it. It was kind of pick the one that had the skills and the talent and the lean toward it, and guide them towards that path. And so I really didn't talk to my other siblings or anything about what was going on, but I could remember playing with fairies and um, things like that when I was 4 years old. And then so that just all progressed until I was initiated when I was 13.
And you was initiated by your mother and grandmother.
Yeah,
That's
into
awesome.
the family traditions. And the family traditions is kind of a mix of Roma and granny magic. It's not Wicca. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some elements of Wicca in there, granted. There's elements of traditional, there's elements of everything. It's so eclectic.
Yes. And I can understand that because we do have a family tradition too as well. But over the years, I have adopted so other many paths to combine, and it feels right. If I always say, if it feels good to you, then do it. You
Hmm.
know? And being in a family tradition, I know we have a lot of secrecy, a lot of secrets we cannot tell. And over the years, it's like if we don't tell a little bit of our secrets, our tradition is going to die. So we don't want that to happen. Now, in your family, how is your family on about the secrets?
Well, I'm the last matriarch of the family line currently. And so it's up to me if I keep it a closed tradition or not. But I too recognize that it would die with me if
Mhm.
I didn't do something. And so, in the more Roma traditions of part of my family, you kind of pick that person that's like family.
Yeah.
You just kind of know when you meet them, or they find you. You know, and so I have raised up one, two, three priestesses and two priests, uh, four covens, uh, based on mostly my family traditions mixed with what I call public paganism, a good dose of Wicca and traditional um, magic in there. And so they get a good mix and a good blend of what to do, and are very strongly encouraged to make it their own when I cut them loose. That's why there's been
Mhm.
four. I just recently cut the last one loose a couple weeks ago. So I call those teaching covens. And I do pretty much anything for the greater pagan community. And even through those things, there are things I teach that, like in one coven I may teach a little nugget of something that doesn't get passed on to the other coven for whatever reason, you know. So they're all just slightly different.
Yeah. Yeah, we have 3 additional um, sister covens is usually what we call them, branches, and you know, teaching covens and everything. Um, so we're happy about that. And they kind of do our lessons too, but they also do their own too, that they revise or add on to it, which is great because we always tell our students, prove us wrong. Go out there and search for yourself. What we are telling you is our truth, but you find your own truth too as well.
My grandmother had what she called natural magic. Natural magic has nothing to do with plants.
Right.
Natural magic is what comes to you naturally.
Right.
And if it comes to you naturally, that is your path. That is the right way for you.
Yeah.
And I would be a real big hypocrite if I were to be like, got to do it our way or the highway.
That
You
is
know, because anytime you even get close to anything like that, that's straight up dogma, and we just don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. So let's get into your book. So this is Kat's book. There we go. Up. There we go. And I just want to
Double
say,
screen it.
I just want to say, I I love this book. I had it for a while, and like I was saying before, I read a lot, and I kind of just put them. Okay, you're next. You're next. And I got this one. I was like, I'm doing this one next, no matter what. So, but the chapters here, and I know you probably can't see that. Yeah, see the chapters that good, but let me just kind of go through them a little bit. And Kat, you can chime in on these because chapter one, and these are exercises too that she has. This is what I like about the book. I like books that helps you do the exercise because it makes the book less boring if it's a dry book or anything. So I should say it makes it more exciting, let's put it that way. And I like because in the back of the book you have notes that you can, and you have like a few pages of notes, and that is really good. I really like this book. um, but on the chapters you have, on chapter one, you have about pause exercise and visualization exercises, joy exercise, gratitude. And then chapter two, you have about social conditioning exercises, self tape exercise, pivoting, trusting yourself, spiritual, letting it go. I like that, letting go. Because a lot of people, it's hard to let go of the mundane, the baggage, all the triggers that you have. You know, um, chapter three, you have the 5 faculties of exercise: manifesting, spiritual, and chapter 4, you have stepping aside exercises, trance exercises, clairvoyance, distance clairvoyance exercise, telepathic invisibility. That's in chapter 5. Chapter 6, you even have cartomancy exercise. That is, when I saw that, I'm just like, huh? What book am I reading? Really? Because I guess I never really associate the psychic skills with that in a way. But then again, after I read it, it's like, oh, I'm dumb. That's a no-brainer, because it's a form of reading of tarot, like almost like a tarot reading in a way.
Mhm.
It's just with the cards. Then you got kinetic skills. You got working with the spirit exercise. one of my favorite chapters is dreams, because you got the dream exercise, the state exercise, the dream work exercise, the astral journey. I mean, it's I cannot tell you how much this book. I mean, I love to read, but this is 225 pages, so it's an easy read. Took me on like a day and a half. Probably could take me about 12 hours if I didn't have anything else to do, but it was a good read. So, with those chapters in your book, is that just something that your family has taught you or that you have learned over the years, or kind of like a combination of both?
Um, well, kind of a combination of both. And I, uh, I'm going to turn my phone off here just in case it wants to
Oh,
bother.
that's okay.
But of course, I'm not able to. There we go. Um, so it's a mixture of both. And a lot of it, the biggest pieces of it, are my own personal experience. And so pretty much I, growing up, had mom and grandma rewriting the family stuff because basically, as I would experience something, they were helping me get through that thing. And then I took them into uncharted territory, you know. And so by the time I was 16, it was kind of like, here's the books. Now quit bugging us. you know. Um, but I am a prolific journaler, and I have stacks of notebooks that are my journals. And those journals became my book.
Oh yeah, I we have a lot of book of shadows, book of ways is actually what we call them, and plus we have a lot of notebooks that's just piling up that we have, because it seems like you have to have a notebook for everything, for a different subject. It's like you don't want to combine them together. And then now later on in years I'm just like, why have I done that? I need to combine everything
Right?
together.
I just started writing off in the margin what the topic is.
So, with the inspiration of this book, um, what made you decide that I'm going to do a book?
So I have been a prolific journaler. And then I was in my first out of the closet experience at the age of 50, because I was kept a secrecy till then. Um, that was 16 years ago. My first public group was a teaching group, and they wanted their people to rise up and be able to teach as well. And so they were encouraging that. And I had a being that I channeled. Her name was Fable. And she said she was here to help me write. Well, I was just writing lessons. My husband was like, "You're writing a book." I'm like, "Oh, shut up. I am not writing a book. You're writing a book." "No, I'm not writing it. Don't you ever throw away anything, not one scrap of paper." And he would go in the trash and unfold all the scraps, if I threw anything away. And so that was like in 2010. And then lo and behold, in 2019, because I'd written a 3-level curriculum out of all my stuff, Phaedra Bonowitz, who lives locally, Oz was over on sale, was coming off his last leg of his walkabout, and she wanted to see him but didn't have space, so we hosted him here. And long story short, my world exploded. I jumped timelines or something, because the next thing I know, I'm going to PantheaCon a month later or 2 months later, and I have 3 written chapters, sample chapters of a book, and Phaedra and Oberon Zell were squishing me, and it was like, you cannot say no. No is not an option, you know, at that point. And so then they're like, you got 5 minutes to pitch this book. I'm like, ah, right? You know, and so we're in this room with tons of people, and they liked it. And, you know, Oberon was there and Katrina Rasbol was there saying they're going to endorse the book and stuff like this. And it just went so fast. I just didn't know how I landed in that cluster of stars.
You was led by the goddess.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. It was meant to be, and she was going to see to it that it got done, because it is, once again, a fabulous book. I just love it. I'm recommending. In fact, I recommend it to some of my students today. You know, to
Well, the book is designed to be a straight read through
mhm.
or to be a study guide.
Yeah.
You can take each little section and study those out. That's what the exercises are for. You can take, you really chew on it a long time, you know, and journal with it and really dig into it. Or if you are a teacher, you can take those subsections and you can teach classes off of them.
Oh yeah, it's because with how it is split up with the exercises and everything. I mean, it's easy just to do a section on just one exercise for your coven students, and then go forward on that. So it is definitely a book that I would recommend for high priestess and high priests everywhere to share that with the students, because it is a very good book. It really is. Have you ever thought about doing another book?
I have one in the cooker, but I'm not sure. It's on impasse, but I'm not sure I really want to go through the hoo-ha for publishing another book. I may find another creative way to put that material out.
Well, I know that you do classes. I know on your website you can join classes that you have, and you have some services that you do as well. So, once you let us know about what type of classes and services you do.
Well, certainly. I have individuals that are local that come, and I guide and teach them whatever it is that they're learning on their particular path. And then I have the Zoom classes, which are not open at this time. My husband passed away just a little over a year ago, so I'm not quite back to all those classes. However, the current coven that I've been raising up and I are doing private moons every moon, and they have been my students for 3 years, you know. And then I have some other local students, folks that have been my students that are now priest and priestess and doing their own groups and things that we get together. And I open my property to the public. I have just an acre, but it's kind of a great acre the way it's laid out. And so I had this big outbuilding and a big field with a big curly willow in the middle of it, you know. And we do events. We just did Llamas. We had Ostara, you know, Beltane, all that. We do big group, public, open to the public groups.
Oh, awesome.
And then for the building, we sometimes have, like, the SCA will come and do a sewing circle, or they'll do a fighting thing, or whatever. I allow other people to use the space. You know, we have an alchemist locally and an astrologer that want to come and use the space. And so we allow that. And Haven Sanctuary became a sanctuary because of the elections, and I wanted a safe place for everybody to just celebrate and to be with other people of a like mind.
Yes.
You know, and so that is how Haven Sanctuary came to be. And so we've got a library. People come and study, or they come and chat with me. We do divination night, magical conversations. These are all open to the public. We do 1 or 2 of those kinds of things a month. I haven't gotten August schedule up yet.
So
But Saturday, I'm going out to the local witch store in Grants Pass and doing crystal ball readings.
oh, I love crystal balls.
Right?
Cool.
That'll be fun.
So you apparently do readings. You do readings at a storefront,
This is
or
my first one at this particular storefront. We got 3 or 4 different little witch shops in the area. And this is my first one there. And I've been so busy with my own property and such like that, and getting life together after my husband passed, that I just haven't been working in other shops until this coming weekend.
yeah.
But they come to my place and host workshops here too.
Cool.
So it's reciprocal.
So on the Haven Sanctuary, is that a total different building, or is that it within on your property?
It is on my property. And the other part of Sanctuary is the idea to help people get a foot up or keep them safe if they're in danger. We had 3 spots available to give sanctuary to folks. One was taken by a 22-year-old gay gentleman who was struggling with everything. And this is a fairly conservative part of Oregon. And so he got one room, and then the other person, their job didn't have medical, and then he got fired because he didn't have this medical thing he was supposed to, way up by the Canadian border. I was like, bring your 5th wheel down here, dude. I've known this person for 20 years, but they were basically homeless and unable to pay their bills, and just getting deeper and deeper, and no friends or anything up there. So they were given sanctuary here. The other is a 42-year-old lady I've known for some time on and off throughout the pagan circles in the valley here, and she got the camper. And this camper, at the age of 42, is the first space that she's had of her own that she's never had to share.
Wow.
I know, it just about broke my heart. I was like, oh my gosh. So that I can help these people is all part of giving and networking, and just, it keeps me busy, and that's good because that keeps me young.
I can understand that, because in your book, you asked me which chapter, because I could not tell you, but in one of the chapters, I think it was talking about mental health and homelessness too, and that kind of really made me like, oh, I love this person, because I'm very passionate about both, and with mental health, that has been an issue for years, and so has homelessness. When I lived in Colorado Springs, I used to take our coven out there, and we also was hooked up to the UU church, and we would feed the homeless, and people, when they look at somebody who's homeless, they're like, I wouldn't feel sorry for them, and it's like, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. And in your book, and you talked about that, and the mental health and everything. Do you want to kind of elaborate about that chapter to the audience?
Well, there's a couple of things I'll say about that, in that the first 3 chapters are the guidebook. That's the very basics guide to get anybody started in any spiritual path that they want. Is tailored almost exactly for the neurodiverse and the empathic, and it's a good start to shadow work. But the mental health piece is that it's a master's of social work for quite a number of years in the Portland area. And, I found Judith Orloff's book, Second Sight. And she's a PhD, and she does a lot of dream work and stuff like that with her patients. It was like gave me permission to use my gifts and skills with my clients. And I soon began to see that out of my percentage, 100% of clients, 50% of those, I would say a third actually of those were having some kind of psychic spiritual events and occurrences rather than mental health. And so we talk about doing shadow work a lot, and it's like you kind of need to know the difference between mental health and shadow work, and psychic skills and not psychic skills, and empath and not empath, in order to get to that shadow work. And so those first 3 chapters deal with that.
Yeah, it kind of hooks you to the book where you just, I got to read more, actually, because, I mean, like I said, the whole book is good. I cannot say what's my favorite. All the chapters are my favorite. I learned a lot from it. Not saying I didn't know nothing before or anything. You always got room to learn more and everything, but I really enjoyed it. Because you talk about, the energy, the psychic abilities, that they're very much real, because a lot of people is like, yeah, we tell somebody I'm psychic, and they're like, or I have some skills, or I have abilities, and they look at you, like, oh yeah, right, and so, the skeptics and everything. Can you tell the audience about your opinions on this when somebody kind of is a skeptic of your skills?
Oh, yes. There's skepticism even amongst the witch and pagan community. You can talk about a lot of things. You start talking about psychic skills and you get a lot of flash.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky in that flash, you'll get a couple of decent answers. Which I think is just very, very sad. Yes, being an empath is a psychic skill. Dreaming and astral traveling is a psychic skill. Invisibility, kinetic, all that stuff is all psychic skills. And it's psychic skills because it is things that you do with your mind, consciously and with effort. And with skill and training. So they are psychic skills. They are not just happy accidents that happen out of the corner of your eye, because there is no such thing as coincidence. Those are all things that you're supposed to be paying attention to.
Exactly.
And I remember one time on a paranormal interview, they said something kind of similar to that. And I said, well, I think the biggest difference between the paranormal and the witches is we witches got skills to deal with what you guys get scared of.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree on that.
We do it every day. Come see us,
Yes, I definitely agree on that. You mentioned dreams, and you do have, of course, you have a chapter about dreams. And you talked about dream avoidance. And a lot of people be like, what is that? For sure. Because I have heard of it, but I kind of maybe tossed it back in my mind. I'm like, okay, I'll get to that later in life, And then when I saw in your book, I'm like, that'd be a good question to ask her, because I know a lot of people who likes to do dream work. And I don't know if they even know what dream avoidance is.
Right. Yeah, it's not one of the more commonly discussed items. And dream avoidance is not something you do consciously. It is done via your subconscious and super subconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of a safety mechanism. It goes, nope, you don't want to know that, you know? And there are other times when, on a closer to conscious type level, part of your brain is going to go, no, I really don't want to remember that. Blip, and off it goes.
Yeah.
And so if we humans knew everything all at once, would be insane.
I
We
agree. Yeah.
don't have the capacity of our full brain for a reason,
Right.
you know. But that's why we have the subconscious and the superconscious that filters it down to us slowly and little bits at a time in these dreams and astral travels and other things that we experience,
Mm-hmm.
and that is the body's kind way of giving us all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, because, once again, I'm going to take myself a little pride here of reading your book because I really enjoyed it. I mean, I enjoy a lot of books, okay? But this one, it was just like, oh my gosh, exercises, the notes you had, I had notebooks that I was just writing down everything. And because I don't like to highlight my books, um, I can, but I don't know, I just don't like that. So I'm a note taker. And do I take a lot of notes? In this book, I took a lot of notes on this book, and because even the astral travel that you have, that chapter was really interesting too. Um, I it's some of the stuff that I read from your book, and I was like, I could have added that years ago to when I was teaching my students about different things. This is because you always it seems like you never know it all, but when you research from books, internet sites, teachers, and everything, and then you say, okay, I got enough here. But then again, you have a book that comes along and you're like, oh, I don't have enough. So on the astral travel, because you have really good chapters on that, can you explain a bit more to the audience about the astral travel that you have found out for yourself?
Yeah, thankfully for my extensive journaling, I was able to pay attention to some of the subtleties, small little things that eventually, over years of looking at in my journaling, led me to understand that an out of body experience is on the here and now, everyday plane. And it can be done like remote viewing when you're awake, or it can be done while you are asleep. Then there are dreams, and there are several different categories of dreams as I describe in my book.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is astral travel. And then there's timeline jumping. And each one of those things is different and unique to itself, but it is like splitting hairs. There are just very subtle differences. So many people ask me, how do I tell a difference between an astral travel and a dream? Well, in a dream, you are mostly the observer. And in astral travels, you are playing that role. You are the main, you are interactive with everything going on around you. You're not just seeing it. And most average dreams are of everyday things. You're settling out or whatever, and you get symbols like a house or whatever, um, that kind of speak to what's on your mind and what's bothering you. And then there's psychic dreams where you're talking to spirits and witches and you're traveling different places. Those are more of a psychic spiritual dream.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I call going over the hedge. going across the veil and going across the hedge to get information and bring it back. It has, that connotation to it in our traditions of our family. And then there's astral travel, which you live lifetimes. You live a life, you know. And if you're paying attention to the subtleties, you'll know. But that's why journaling helps.
Yes, I totally agree. And just one more thing that I do like about your book, because the exercises are real easy to do. They're not hard or anything. Um, you will be taking a lot of notes. I know I did, and that's one thing that I like about taking notes. Because, like I said, I'm a note taker. So, um, now the intuition and the psychic skills that, because a lot of people it says, well, I have good intuition, that's my skill, okay, but to my clarification, they're different than having, it's different having an intuition and a psychic skills.
Yes, intuition is instinctual in us all. It's more of that gut feeling,
Yeah.
that survival mode. It's really attached to our survival mode, our primal stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that intuition. And synchronicity is the language it speaks. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like these two random things come together, and it was like, oh my God, I knew that was going to come that way. Right? Um, and or you may be driving along, and you just have this feeling, this intuitive feeling, you need to take a left-hand turn, even though you didn't mean to. And
Right.
when you do, you avoid an accident or a tree in the road or whatever it happens to be. You know, um, and it's just the universe's way and the planet's way of speaking to us. And some of us are more in tune with it than others.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that everyone, I mean, we know everyone pretty much has intuition, but do you think everyone has some type of a psychic skill?
Oh, yeah. I just don't think they all realize it.
Right. That's that's what I always tell everybody. Everybody has the skill. They just need to wake it up and stuff and say, hey, you know. Um, you also talked about pause, sense, scan, the knowing, the protection, the balance. So, how do you do those in order?
Well, pause is pretty much what it says. It means stop. But these three skills go way beyond just the simple things that they are. So, pause, sense, and scan are the root and beginning to everything else that you find in the book. And they travel with you through all levels of skill. And each time they level up themselves, meaning they have something a little more intense or a little more defined that goes with them. So, for example, when you are trying to build your intuition and you pause, you're listening, that's sensing. You know, you're trying to sense your body. What is my body and my intuition and my gut instincts telling me? That's a pause and sense. Then you scan to go, okay, where is it? Right? So that's the very basic part of pause, sense, and scan. But as you get up into astral travel with pause, sense, and scan, you're out on the astral and you're pausing for a different reason. You're sensing and scanning for different things. When you're doing the stepping aside exercise, you're pausing, sensing, and scanning, but you're doing it with a different end goal. But they are the same skill, basic skill used all the way through.
And then, you talk about letting go too. So, is that just letting go, like of the mundane, letting everything go and try to get into a meditative state?
So letting go is an art form, and it doesn't matter if it's mundane or if it's spiritual, but it's an art form.
Mm-hmm.
And so initially, people learn to let go of their gripes with people they live with or work with. It's like, never mind, let it go. You pick your battles.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the very basic form of letting go. And we need to all do that a little bit more.
That's absolutely for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the other part of letting go, as it again, like the pause, sense, and scan, how it progresses through the different levels, is that letting go is now then, as it progresses and gets intermediate, the precursor for stepping aside and bilocation and uh, remote viewing.
Yeah.
So when you are about to bilocate or do remote viewing, you let go of all of this that you are on a daily basis. You let it go. Your personality, everything that makes up you, you let it all go and you go inward to do focusing. So that is another form of letting go. You let go a part of yourself. And it is the precursor to stepping aside. Stepping aside is where you truly let go of everything and you go on into trance levels. Phaedra Bonowitz called it very Jedi.
Yes. Um, Now you have also, besides a book, you have also written some articles for Green Egg. Is that it? Yeah, Green Egg from over on Cell, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So how did that become about? Just he just asked you, or
Well, uh, Oberon and I melted together the minute we met. Uh, I'm Polly, he's Polly. Um, and we just kind of melted together the minute we met. I mean, the first time I met him was in my driveway when he showed up here, you know, um, and we got along very well. And he liked my work. He wanted to support my work, and that's why I was at the very last PantheaCon
Mhm.
with him and a few other friends. They're sitting here in my living room. Oh no, you're going. You're doing this. I'm like, wait, don't I get asked? No, you don't. You're going. You know, and so we stayed pretty tight for quite a while until he moved back east again. You know.
Yeah, he we had him on the podcast the first few months that we started. Fabulous guy.
Yeah,
I, you
I've
know,
even written chapters in 4 of his other books or something like
oh
that.
yeah, he is a great guy, and I it was my first few podcasts, so I was still nervous. And he was like starstruck, is like, oh my God, you see him, you just kind of freeze up, don't know what to say. And sometimes when I get really nervous, I can say stupid things, So I remember that when he came on and everything, I was just so excited. I told him, I just want to shrink you down and put you in my pocket forever. And I go back on that video now. I'm just like, oh, how lame was that? You know?
I
Oh,
made this.
I love it.
That's his real hair.
I love that. Yes. He would just be a little great figurine just to put on your key ring or something.
Right. Right?
Because
We got a goddess from him. We need an Oberon from
yeah,
him.
we do, because when you look at him and you just like, he's filled with wisdom and everything. You know, it's like, I have a goddess that um some people has teddy bears or a stuffed animal. I have a goddess that I hold on to underneath my pillow when something is going bad in my life, or I want something good to happen. I want to manifest it still. So, one of my best friends bought me this goddess figurine, and it's just great just to hold in your hand. So, sometimes when my husband's helping making the bed, he goes, "Oh, here's your goddess right here," because I'll be dropping it or something. That's what we need for Oberon. We need a little
You
thing to
do.
hold on to. So, um, yeah, I just love him. Now, like you were saying, ever since you was like 13, you got initiated with in the path and everything. When you was going through your teen years and maybe early 20s and everything, did you get a lot of backlash from people for who you are, or did you just kind of like didn't tell nobody?
No, I was sworn to secrecy till I was 50 years old.
Oh man, was that pretty hard for you because you just
Heck
wanted to?
yeah. I couldn't tell even my siblings. I had no one to talk to about any of this except mom and grandma.
Oh wow. uh,
All those years. I mean, they give me books, and
yeah.
all that, like I said. But yeah, it
And you
was.
couldn't tell your best friend or nothing. Yeah,
I
that
mean,
would
there were a few slips
be
here and
tough.
there, where as I was growing up and associating with different kinds of groups, as one is wont to do in their 20s and 30s, you know, that a few people would catch on that I was psychic or whatever,
Hmm.
you know, and that ended up being useful and helpful. But for the most part, I could not utter the word witch, you know.
Right.
Only ever identified as witch, most of my life. So that made it difficult. That's kind of why I, one of the other motivators behind my book was because I didn't have someone else to talk
Hmm.
to of pure, of a peer. And I wanted other people to have what I didn't. I wanted them to have the manual.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
the greatest joy I get from this book is people going, "Oh my God, I found myself in those pages. You correctly defined and labeled me. Oh my God, I thought I was crazy. And there I was." And I just love that part. And that's why I created Magical Conversations is open to the public. Come, let's talk magic.
Yeah.
I know people don't always have someone safe to talk to about magic and psychism. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, that's really good. Speaking of paintings, I know that you are a painter.
Yeah.
Um, I have seen some of your artwork that you had on your Facebook. Beautiful, really beautiful. Do you ever sell any of your artwork?
Rarely.
Really? You just, it's like it's mine. It's personal. It's just mine.
I usually give it away.
Oh, do you? Well, that's good. That's really
I
good.
also knit hats. That's knit hats, make ponchos, and but I do that for the homeless. And my coven and my social group, pagan social group, they help me do that too. And so around Christmas time, we go out and we give those out.
I always cheated. We always went out and bought a bunch of hats or scarves and mittens or gloves, and we put them on benches where the homeless was, so they can find.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
You know, not that I can crochet. I can crochet and stuff. I cannot knit, but I can crochet.
Well, I can't crochet or knit either. I knit with a loom. A
Do
loom.
and so. But I want to give something out, because they need people to care for them, and instead of criticizing them, they need somebody to care, um, as well. But with, I mean, you would just have your hands just kind of like filled up. Really, you have, your plate is, it's a wonder have what you have on your plate without anything falling off. You know, I,
Well, that is the reason it succeeds is because it's about being able to pick the right people that are willing to help.
yeah,
You know, the current coven, they run all the big holidays. I don't have to do that. You know, I'm all I do for Haven is the monthly schedule, pick out the couple of classes that are going to be taught that month. Everything else is automatic. There's people who come and help with the property or help me with housework. That's what some of the people who are doing having sanctuary here also do.
yeah.
In return for the favor of being here. And so it works in unison. I'm not a lone icon at all.
That is really good because, even when I did pagan events, I had my husband help me out a lot, and so did my kids. But it's hard to get, at least in my area. I'm not talking about your area, but in my area, it was really hard because a lot of people didn't want people to know who they were and
Yeah.
stuff. So there was an out of the room closet, which I always was, and so it was really hard because they're like, well, what should I do? How do I go get raffle gifts and stuff? How do I ask for somebody to donate or anything like that? I just like, you just go outside that box and you just go forward. You just go outside that box and keep marching on.
You have to ask. It never hurts to ask. They can only tell you no. If
That
they,
is
if
true.
they tell you no, keep looking for the right person that'll say yes.
Yeah, very much so. Very
That's
much.
really the crux of it all.
Mhm.
I mean, out of 4 covens, it's taken me this fourth time to find that group of people that'll say yes.
Yeah.
Because up till now I've done it all on my own, and they're like, you're 66, and that's a big no. So
I think it took me probably, I think up to 4 years ago, I just kind of said, okay, I'm done. I want to do me for a change,
yeah,
because I have lost myself over the 30 years that I had a coven and everything. Over 27 years I had the community. I lost myself a lot. So it's kind of nice to actually do me now. I really enjoy it. And everybody else, I'm here if they need, you know, questions to be answered and stuff. I'm always here. I try to get on it as soon as possible. 24/7, still open invite to, if you need to talk or video chat, whatever, I'm here. But it's not as much as it was. Up to 2021, it was getting really hectic, where it's like, oh my gosh, who am I? So I feel better being like this. So I do know I do get it when you say, that your covens help out. They take over the rituals and this classes
yeah,
and stuff, and that is a great feeling.
yeah.
It really is.
And I insist on moon ritual being on a rotation.
Yeah, I think having the podcast now has really, because I do miss being with all the covens. um it gets kind of hectic trying to split up your time with different branches
Yes.
and everything. But I kind of like it now with my own family doing our thing. And then we have the podcast, which is family based. So I feel more uplifted, I guess you can
Good.
say, freer.
It's
So,
important for the leader to feel uplifted too.
yeah,
Otherwise, you get burnout and they're like grumpy and want to go somewhere else.
you do. You get really burnt out. But I want to have a few minutes left. So, why don't you tell us about what is upcoming for the rest of this year for you?
Hmm. Well, because I'm kind of just letting go of a coven and doing me. Um, so I want to see this coming Saturday how it goes with the crystal ball readings. And if that goes very well, I might be doing that once a month out,
Cool.
out there. And there are talks about me doing classes out there in a couple of the witch shops, in person and locally. And that's going to be about it, public, pagan, community wise, because these are my golden years.
Mm-hmm.
I have put my art off for a long time, and I just recently got done with another piece today.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
Sitting here looking at,
That's
and it's a gift for somebody. Um, and yeah, usually I don't sell my paintings. Sometimes I'll do found object art, I've got a 3-story forest fairy house that is all lit up and on a motor and turns. And I've got a snag in the lighting I need to fix, but that's going to be for sale. But something like that that's so delicate can only be local. I'm not shipping something like that. You know.
and maybe you could do another book. Maybe.
Well, I have one in the cooker, but like I said, I think I'm going to try and find a creative way of putting that information out, like my blog, for example.
Yeah.
I think I may have it work for me instead of me working for it,
Mm-hmm.
because when you publish a book, you definitely have to work for it.
Oh, yeah.
And that would take away from my goal of my golden years, of
Right.
relaxing, just being the crone and kind of letting the community be here on the property. And like mamas,
Mm-hmm.
I had a large part in the ritual, but I fell ill that day. They were like, "We got this."
Yeah.
Came off without a hitch.
Yeah. I know. I know the feeling about doing a book because we did our first book. It's on. It's an ebook right now, but it's also we're in talks of getting it published, and we have all these publishing companies, and I'm just like, you know, I don't know who to go to because, sometimes there might be scams. There's so many scams out there. So it is kind of scary. It is kind of scary on that. So yeah, um, I know how you feel about that too as
Well,
well.
I do agree with Phaedra Nova on Zell and what they taught me, and Katrina Rasbold, in that it is good to go and have at least one book published
Yeah,
by a traditional publisher before you start going ebooks or whatever.
yeah,
Um, and you make more money with, self-publishing.
yeah,
But you have to do 5 times more the work.
yeah. Oh
You
yeah,
know, and that's the part I detest the most. I feel like I use
yeah.
car salesman. I don't want to be out there going, woo, all the time. And it's
Well,
not what I
it
want to do
takes
with my time, you
it takes
know?
a lot of work. It does take a lot of work.
Yeah.
But we at the top of the hour. I just want to once again tell everybody about the book. Please, go out there. You can get it off of Amazon. I think you can get it off Kindle too, as well.
Barnes and Nobles,
Oh
Goodreads, pretty
yeah,
much anywhere.
opt for the physical copy because of the notes in the back you can take and everything kind of saves you on paper as well. And it's nice just to have a physical copy of books. I think I'm not so fond about.
I even have, once I got my copy, I have written all over it too, going, oh no.
But Kat, it has been a pleasure to have you on, and I wish you many, many blessings and everything. And you are doing some great things, and you have done some great things, and you still continue to do great things. So that is just great. Everybody, go to her site. It's down below. Click on it. She has like a blog, and she has classes, services. about her. You know, she has everything on there that it's a good site. So I
And
recommend to go to the site and take a look. And
there's even an excerpt of every chapter of my book there, just so you can kind of test drive the book to see if you like it before you buy it.
yeah, you do because because he even has the latest post. You know, he has about the Haven Temple and the articles and podcasts you have done. So yeah, I mean it is a really good site. Um, but I just want to say blessings to all. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And until next time, many blessings. Goodbye to everybody.
Many blessings.